So I think it's important when you come to a city to not just do the usual tourist stuff, but to look for something a little bit different. So this time here in Norwich, I've come to the Dry Ski Centre. So we're here at the Norfolk Snow Sports Centre to go tubing. You might be able to see my tube just behind me there. But while we're on the lift going up, I thought I'd give you a few facts about Norwich. Now, the first people to settle this area, or at least in recorded history, were the famous Iceni tribe. And they were here in what was then called the village of Castor. Now, in 60 AD, there was an uprising by the famous Queen Boudica, which was crushed by the Romans. And that was the point that Norfolk, or Castor at the time, became the Roman capital of East Anglia. By the 4th century, Castor was settled by the Anglo-Saxons and became an absolutely buzzing centre of commerce by the 10th century. At that point, the name of the area turned from Castor to Norfolk, and then in 1066, William the Conqueror got here with an absolute bang. With the Norman conquest in 1066, the Normans had started building the very famous Norwich Cathedral by 1096, an endeavour that took many, many years, and we'll go and see that a little bit later today. And that really solidified Norwich as the capital of East Anglia, getting rich from the wool trade, and became a city of medieval walls, of trade, of friaries, and of course all dominated by the famous Norwich Cathedral. Let's give this tube malarkey a go. So I recommend you get yourself down here to the Norfolk Snow Sports Centre. An hour of this exhilarating tubing, just 17 quid. Absolutely great fun. Well, that was an absolute blast, and what a way to start the day here at Norfolk Snow Sports Centre. Now let's head into town and see what historical Norwich has to offer, as I promised you. Let's go. So our first destination in historical Norwich is the market. The market's actually been here for over 900 years and has over 200 permanent stalls, over 29 food vendors. It's so historical and so traditional, in fact, that just like a lot of stuff in the rural UK, it's absolutely, completely shut on a Sunday, which is the day I'm here. But let's have a little look around anyway and get a flavour of the place. Okay, MegaTrippers, so I'll admit my timing on the market was a little bit of a bust. But let's go check out our next bit of historical Norwich. This time it's the Royal Arcade, an Art Nouveau Victorian mall built in 1899, over 250 foot long. Let's have a look at this beautiful shopping arcade now. Check out these beautiful Art Nouveau lights. Absolutely stunning. And the frieze and tile work. Very Norwich, very pretty, very local. When you come out the end of the Royal Arcade, there's actually something really pretty here. Some amazing street art, so I'd suggest you come and check this out too. And next on our historical tour of Norwich is Norwich Castle. Now, William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066, famously. And as part of that Norman invasion, he wanted to take over East Anglia. So Norwich Castle here was built sometime between 1066 and 1075. And it was very much part of that invasion and subjugating East Anglia, due mainly to the wool trade from this industry and the value associated to that. There's some building works going on today, but let's take a quick little look anyway. You see here the classic Norman castle with buttresses standing above the city on a hill. You might be able to hear me panting slightly, having got out of breath walking up here. If you want to see a little bit more detail when you get here, there is a gallery, there is a museum, but I think it's worth just coming up here, stop for a minute and enjoy the view. Check this out. Stunning. Right, on to our next stop, MegaTrippers. From 1,000 years of history to just 50 or 60, we're now on London Street. The reason why London Street is interesting is it was actually the first street to be pedestrianised in the UK. And not for the reasons of commerce that you might expect, although in the 60s lots of towns were looking at whether or not they should pedestrianise important streets. But actually because here what happened was the sewer collapsed underneath the street and it could no longer sustain the weight of motor vehicles. So it was the first street to be pedestrianised, and it's still a very busy shopping street today with shops like Preston's, the fine jewellery designer, retailer of watches such as your Rolexes, your Patek Philippe's. So if you want to come and get a luxury gift, head to London Street in the good old centre of Norwich. When it comes to historical Norwich, we've now had the amuse-bouche of the Old Market and the Royal Arcade. We've had the starter of Norwich Castle and London Street, that first street to be pedestrianised in the UK. But now, let's get on to the main course we've all been waiting for, the famous Norwich Cathedral. Come with me as we go have a little look at that. It's said that the first Bishop of Norwich was not without sin, and that sin was probably vanity. He actually bought his bishopdom from William the Conqueror in 1094 for a sum of £1,900. And in 1096, he started construction on Norwich Cathedral. Now, Norwich Cathedral is so big that in order to build it, they destroyed 2 churches and an Anglo-Saxon settlement. And coming here today, you can really see why or how that was even possible. It's absolutely gigantic. You can say one thing for the God inclined of Norwich. They certainly had a lot of money, but that meant massively impressive buildings like this one. It really is something. Completely free to get in. However, there is a suggested or recommended donation of £5, which of course MegaTrip Don paid for this privilege to film this for you. Look, I'm not a religious guy, but sometimes you have to remember those people who aren't here anymore. You've been inside and seen everything that the beautiful cathedral here in Norwich has to offer. Attached to the side is the cloister. And if you want to take a moment to get some outside space, this could be the place for you. So let's go have a quick look now at what you can see here at the Norwich Cathedral cloister. As you can see, it's a beautiful green space with a great view of the side of the cathedral, and it really starts to give you some idea of the scale of this place. It really is impressive. And right in the middle of this green space where you can come and relax on your own or with the family, there is this little labyrinth. Alright, so that's the main course done of this historic tour of Norwich. I'm not going to show you everything today, but hopefully you're starting to get a little flavour. The cathedral really is worth a visit. It is super impressive. Now I guess on to dessert of old historic Norwich. And do you know what? I have just seen something. Let's go take a quick look at this. Look at this building here. Wonky as you like. No idea when this was built, probably sometime in the Tudor period. Let's take a closer look. So wow, check out this building here, leading through to Tomlin Alley, as you can see on that sign there. Completely wonky set of buildings just attached to each other. In reality, that really speaks to the age of Norwich and the historic nature of it. Before things like building regulations, buildings were just cobbled together. And if someone thought it was a good idea to link them, hey, you just built a link, you cut the wood to that size. But anyway, let's keep walking through Tomlin Alley, and we're going to go and have a look at an area of Norwich called the Elms. Look at this, another stunning church just across the road from the cathedral. Honestly, couldn't have picked a nicer day for it. Glorious. Alright, mega trippers. So let's now check out the Elms, or Elm Hill, here in Norwich. You can see this beautiful cobbled street. Elm Hill, nice funky shops. And just look how pretty this is. This really is quintessential East Anglian England. Ironically, Elm Hill was named for the elm trees that used to line this hill. There's none left, none at all anymore. So now you'll just see this beautiful cobbled street with, as ever in Norwich, a church on one side, coffee houses, tea shops, boutique little stores. Very much worth a visit, very much worth a little wander around. Look how pretty that is. Absolute chocolate box, picture postcard, rural English city, English cathedral city. Now to finish our mini trip tour of historic Norwich, we're going to head down to the Riverside walk. You might find this slightly familiar. If you watched my last video here in Norwich, you'd have seen me kayaking down the river here through the heart of the city. But that's not the only way to get engaged with the river. You can also wander down the beautiful Riverside walk that will take you past old mills, old pumping houses, lots of hostelries and pubs. You see the real traditional and tranquil life here in Norwich. You'll see little boats like the one behind me going up and down. Really is, again, worth a visit, particularly if you're here on a good summer's day. But I think now it's probably time for me to draw this Norwich mini trip or mega trip to a close. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the exciting things you can do here. It is definitely a big thumbs up for me here for the historic Norwich. Now, if you like what you've seen, you'll hear me say this a lot, but please do just subscribe to the channel. It's the little bell icon down there. Just click that right now. And that'll make sure that you get alerts when I upload new content every Saturday. That's my commitment to you. And I promise you won't want to miss this. In just a few short weeks now, I'll be starting my mega trip, traveling around the globe, seeing some of the most exciting places there are to see, and exploring sometimes the touristy stuff and sometimes the much more off the beaten path, exciting elements. So make sure you like. If there's anything else you want to see, leave me a comment. and of course subscribe, and join me next time here on MegaTrip.